Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, October 15th, 2017. We are at the home of Ysidro Ruiz in Tucson, Arizona to hear about his military service. My name is Ruiz, here with Mr. Dickinson, the advisor of the Veterans Heritage Project. So, Mr. Ruiz, could you tell us about your military service from the time you were enlisted with any background information that encouraged you to join the service? Additionally, if you would, please take us through your military career chronologically, recalling as many pertinent details as possible. We will ask occasional questions for clarification along the way. Let's begin.
Okay, well, I was living in Douglas at the time I was drafted, Douglas, Arizona, and from there went to Fort MacArthur, California, for a basic, for a boot camp, and from there, after a few months, I don't remember exactly how many months, we were sent to Fort Knox for basic training, and other than that, we went to Camp Camel, and then from Camp Camel we went to Port Virginia to be shipped. We were shipped to England, and so in England we had more training. We were told, what we would be sent to fight the Germans. So they gave us a little training to how to handle that. So
was this 1941 or 42?
that was in 40. That was in 40. Somewhere about 44. Okay.
Oh, 44.
43. 44. 44.
Okay, 44. Okay.
And
was that in the fall or spring or winter, or do you remember when you went to England?
I think there was. I don't remember exactly what it was.
It's okay.
It will come to me after a while. Then we took training, and then on June 6th, we were shipped on a boat to Utah Beach, and there. Went on the boat, they opened up a big latch and gave, whatever you call it, and we had to go through water, but almost waist deep, where we were fighting the Germans that were waiting for us. And we got through that with a lot of casualties. And after that, we fought all the way for 6 months to Belgium, to Bastogne, the Battle of Belgium. We got into that one. We fought for about 2, 3, 4 days, and then and from then we went on to gather a bunch of prisoners. They were scattered, and we had that scattered in different places we've been, so we had to go together, bring them up and take them to a place where they shipped them up to a camp, to a prisoner camp. And then we went to after Bastogne, we got to Bastogne because the 101st Airborne had landed in Bastogne, and they got caught in there with sort of ammunition and food to eat. So we helped liberate them, and then after that we went to Czechoslovakia, where the war ended for us. Not our service, because we still had, like I said, still more door-to-door prisoners that we had left. Like I said, And so then after that, I was discharged in 1946. But, what's this like? Maybe an answer. Our main battle was the battle of the Bulge, and we had a lot of casualties. Our training was really in tank. My training was really in tanks, but we ended up fighting the battle of the Bulge with on the armored infantry. We go behind tanks, and the tanks are in front of us, making, taking care of the big stuff, and we were right behind them. They missed it. We were snow. There was all kind of snow. We were fighting in Estonia. We were deep in snow, probably a couple of feet deep. At night we used to cover ourselves with snow in the foxhole. But all I can remember is, in action country where you can make some notes. That's about all I can remember.
Okay, I have some questions. You have some questions, or yeah, I have some questions. So, what you were with an armored group, right? And when you went to Fort Knox,
Yeah,
and what armored group was that?
I was in the 4th Armored Division in 53rd 53rd Armored Battalion, and I stayed with that one until come about.
Mm-hmm. So you were trained in tanks. What did you do in the tank?
Well, the tank, you showed us, how to drive them, how to use a gun, since I had big guns, and small guns, you use from the tank.
So it was a Sherman tank, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how did you feel that training was? I mean, was it real difficult for you? Was it?
No, I don't think it was. I when I went in the service, when I went to former casa, they told us, in the training you're gonna be taken when you're in the service. If you learn not to complain and enjoy it, you're gonna do it. So I was figured when I went into to any kind of training,
Mm-hmm.
like I hated the bayonet training, but I had to do it.
Mm-hmm. Did you grow up around any farm equipment? Were you familiar with motor vehicles at all, or?
In the service?
I know, but like before the service, had you like operating a tank and learning how to operate?
Yeah. Of course, we and like I said, when they ended up fighting, we always after we landed in Utah, we rode half tracks, and from then on we were on half tracks, and you would get to a place where you've been fighting for a few days, and you find a place to rest. It looked like a headquarters for us, for the battalion, and then at night. They would get this sergeant would get volunteers first. If they want to volunteer for a reconnaissance trip, to go out and look ahead. For the rest of the battalion staying right there, you go out. But really, with a platoon, because they would with a battalion, but from the platoon, they asked us to volunteer if we wanted to go on this mission to look for enemy, up ahead. I got in quite a few of those. Then we would go out and look, and that's where I almost lost my eye in one of those. But
So what happened? Tell us what happened with that.
it seemed like when I went to the hospital, they said it was a flash wound. A flash wound. It didn't penetrate my eye, but it burned my eye as it went through. And so I had
So is that where you got your Purple Heart?
yes, it was that my first purple. I had two purple.
You
Hearts.
have two.
Yeah, and
So that was from a, was it just from a rifle
the
shell?
rifle shot.
Yeah.
And you know,
And where was that? Was that?
in one of the towns that were going in Bastogne.
When you were on the way to Bastogne?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then later on I got shrapnel on my back. Shrapnel on my back, 30% shrapnel on my back. Shrapnel. We were real fine, there's nothing I could do, but both times, they asked me if I wanted to go back to my outfit. They give you a choice. Go back to your outfit or go to the hospital and maybe we'll do something, send you back. So, I got used to being in there, and I had good friends that always has to be go back to the front lines with them.
So you stayed with your guys?
Stayed with them.
Could I ask about, so you're in the D-Day landing at Utah Beach.
Yeah.
And so when that lid came down, where were you in the group of soldiers that were there? Were you up front or behind or?
Yeah, well, that kind of behind, and probably 1,000. I don't know how many it was, 1,000 of them, but half of them got shot.
Yes,
And
yeah.
there's nothing you could do to help them, and you had to go take credit yourself. So from then on, like I said, we were in France, and we get the Germans out of France.
Mm-hmm.
So from then on, it was, like I said, fighting all the way. Different towns. The towns I can't remember the names.
I want to go back to the Utah Beach landing because that was such a massive attack and so many of our soldiers killed there. And what were your feelings when you went out of that carrier or the what do they call them? They call them some type of
hatch. I think.
Yeah. When that lid came down and you went out, what did you feel?
Well, I felt like I had to do what I had to do to cover myself, and at the same time, do what I was supposed to do, fight for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say I can go around shooting for anybody in particular. We just went out.
So was there a lot of resistance
Lot
on at Utah Beach?
Yeah, lot of them.
So what did you do? Do you when I see the photos or the movies, I see it going through the water, hiding behind those steel barriers?
There was a lot of artillery that was being, to disperse the Germans. We had some help up ahead, and that's where a lot of them killed, not by a group that did it out. We killed some of them, but
how long were you on the beach?
I would say a couple of hours, half a day or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, half a day. For half a day we were out of the water.
Yeah.
It took a long time because, like I said, there was a lot of casualties. You had to go around them. It was real sad, and that's why when I left the service, I didn't ever want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, sure, I understand. So one of the things that we study is the hedgerows. So after the landing, and then we weren't aware of how heavy and thick those hedgerows were. So did you have to go through those?
Yeah, well, that's what I said. When our platoon leader would ask volunteers to go and look. That's what we always looked on those hedgerows, and behind them would probably be a pillar or something where they were hiding.
Yeah.
And sometimes they seen us coming and they came out like that. They didn't want to. There's some groups didn't want to fight any more than we did, and sometimes. So when they came out like that, like I said, we get a group, a group of prisoners, and somebody would stay at a certain place taking care of them until another group came to pick them up, and that's what mostly it was about on the way to where we got to Bastogne.
Yeah. So now, and the liberation of Bastogne is one of the really, what should I say, dramatic liberations.
Mhm.
So it was cold, snowy,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Really, really cold, and so how many miles did you like march or travel a day to get to Bastogne from once you were called to get to
Well, I
Bastogne?
remember spending a couple of nights. I thought, when we got real close, that because we had our division was coming from different directions, so we had to wait until they got to a certain point before they pushed us to go in and finish our.
And were you in a motorized vehicle or were
It
you
was
marching?
in a half track.
Half track.
And foot.
Yeah. Okay.
Mostly half track.
And tell us where did you get your Bronze Star? What did you do for your Bronze Star?
Well, Bronze Star is for being over for fighting in a foreign country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the two Purple Hearts. What happened when you were hit? Where were you? What were you doing?
But the first time, the first Purple Heart was awarded to me in Belgium. And we were in a rest area with some big shot from the, I don't know who they were, where they were, I don't know what kind of people they were, but one of them came in, they quite a few Purple Hearts. They handed to us just the Purple Heart, not the package.
Uh-huh.
They pinned it on us.
Uh-huh.
And then when I got the second Purple Heart, I shouldn't have gotten that one. They should have put up what you call it, a little star. They should have just given me a star to put on top of it. But after I was discharged, I sent another Purple Heart, so that's why I ended up with two of them. But one of them should have just a star on it. If you get wounded 3 times, you get 2 stars.
Where were you when the bullet grazed your eye? What were the circumstances?
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's what we were going to reconnaissance, looking for.
Yes.
Yeah. And then if we were going through the hedgerow, in fact, that no, there wasn't one. The Purple Heart was when I was going into Bastogne, and I get confused with the shrapnel in the shot. The shot there, the breath started there in my eye was at the beginning of our.
So that happened early in combat.
And the shrapnel were almost at Bastogne.
At Bastogne, what was like just an exploding shell or something?
Well, there was, they were shooting, and we were in a foxhole. And thankfully, a couple of the guys, were hidden dead where they died. But I happened to be, I gave one of them kind of covered with there was quite a few of them in the foxhole. And so my shrapnel was very fine. When I went to the hospital, they asked me if I wanted to go back. I said, I want to go back. It doesn't bother me. So they gave me special sweatshirt.
Hmm.
What they call it, it's got a lot of wool on the back. That's how I got through. When I was discharged, I had to go to VA. It wasn't a while to check.
So after Bastogne, you made it into Czechoslovakia. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the Germans a strong resistance there, or were they giving up at that stage?
Actually, it wasn't. When we got there, like I said, by the time we got there, the people were wild having parties in the town because we didn't know it, but the war had just literally just been signed.
It just ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got into that. We stayed overnight there,
Mhm.
and then we continued to go, like I said, finish our job.
So do you have some friends? Did you make friends that you kept friendships over the
Oh, yeah.
time?
Yeah, in fact, six of us that stayed together most of the time. But one of them got wounded, but he came back later on, and we kept in touch even in civilian life.
Were you all from Douglas? Or
Pardon?
were you all from Douglas or different
No,
places?
in fact, I was from Benson, but I had moved to Douglas to try to get a better job at the time, and by that time I was drafted, so I was only 18.
Wow.
And like I said, that was about a couple of months later, I guess, that after Czechoslovakia, but that's 40, about a year later that I got discharged.
So did you have to stay in Germany? How many months did you have to stay in Germany once the war was over?
I think I came back, like I said, 1946 in January, but about 2 years, about a year, I guess, in Germany.
Really? Yeah. So how was your time in Germany? How did the German people treat you?
You know what? Like I said, before we got to Bastogne, where the fighting was, like I said, we had, and we stopped at a lot of places. A lot of the Germans. Some guy was telling me one time we were talking about. I don't like to talk about that, but we got to talking about it. He said all the Germans were dead. Some of the Germans, you knock on the door, you want to make sure that somebody's not there waiting for you. And some of them don't want to fight any more than we did. They come out. Once they come out, we have to take them as prisoners. But at least, particularly if they have families, they don't want to fight. So that's about all I can think of. Right?
What's the most powerful moments you had in the war, or the moments you remember the most, or is there one moment more than any other?
I remember them. You had some good times too. It's a good time too, and like I said, once in a while, probably after fighting a couple of days, when you're on the route, like I said, you're probably on the way to a Czechoslovakia Battle of the Bulge, Bastogne. We'd, like I said, we always picked a place for the battalion, for the stage, where we laid back to them, and they sent us on back to take showers every once in a while, and there was always like people make jokes on you, So, one time we were taking showers, and 3, 4 hours taking showers, and we come out, but some of the guys had stolen our overclothes. So all they get left there was a raincoat. That was a funny part of it. And there was it wasn't all bad, Back when we were fighting, and you hate to see anybody shot, whether they're our boys or the Germans.
Yes.
Got to see a lot of thousands of people shot. like you see on a farmland here in the United States, when they bale hay, you see it stacks all over. That's the way you could see bodies all over.
When you came, when the war finished, what did you do after the war?
I came back to Benson, and they gave us $50 for 52 weeks while we looked for a job. So I found a job right away, and but first of all, before we done that, his buddy and I he said let's take there was a place giving flying lessons. Let's take some flying lessons. He says he'll do it for the $50. So I went, and this guy, the trainer was always drunk drinking. So we got up. We got up one time, but then I told him I'm not going back to that guy again. You know, playing too many tricks. And I came back okay out of the service. I don't. So, like I said, after that, I started working at the mine, and then before I went in the service, I started working when I was 8 years old.
Wow.
Washing dishes in a restaurant in Benson, and I learned to be a fry cook. I could fry hamburgers, steaks, and also make sandwiches. So I worked 3 years in there, and when I was 16, I told my boss, I said, I want to look for a better job. I said, because I want to. Mixed up because it was before the service. Yeah, when I came back, when I left, I was a cook, so when I came back, I didn't want to do that anymore, so I started working construction, at the mine first, in the construction. And I stayed in construction for 40 years.
Wow.
Then I got to be a superintendent of a public work there in Mammoth in the town.
Very good.
That's why I retired.
Yeah. Do you have any questions you want to ask?
Can you tell us more about your life before the war? Can you tell us more about your life before the war?
Yeah,
Yeah, your life before the war. Yeah, I want to know too.
before the war.
Yeah, growing up. Tell us a little about your family and growing up.
Oh yeah, but I was raised by my father. My mother died when I was 3 years old.
Oh my.
And so I have three out of four of us. My dad put three of the family with relatives, and because he couldn't handle it by himself, and I stayed with him. And when I became, like I said, at 16 I went on my own. And then at 17 I moved to Douglas. And like I said, I've been a cook in Mammoth. I got to work in a couple of restaurants in Douglas until I was drafted. But anyway, getting back to when I was really young, like I said, I was 3 years old when my mother died, and we lived in California then. And my dad was a wood chopper, so we never did have a real home. We always were in camps.
Yeah.
In camps, And I went to most of my schooling was on a country school. One room, eight people of different
grades. Yeah.
Different grades up to 8.
Yeah.
And they asked me, well, how did they graduate? Well, I don't know. I said, but some of them, some of them did graduate, and they had good jobs, they got, But anyway, so, like I said, I was raised mostly in different ranches, My dad, like I said, worked in different ones, and in a camp. We always lived close to the river. The refrigerator was, you dig a hole about 4 foot deep, fill it up with rock, line it up with rock, and then you put your pots in there. Because we always had a lot of meat because we worked for the ranchers, they kill a cow and bring us. So, most of my life was working like that as a young boy when I grew up. I don't remember whether there was any laws or anything, because I remember when I was 16 years old, they were building a cable bridge across the San Pedro River in Benson, and we went in that. Me and my cousin went in that. The company, superintendent, they hired anybody. He laughed, but he smiled when I asked him. But he said, "You guys really work?" I said, "Yeah." So he gave us a job. And I had never driven a car. He asked me, "Can you drive?" And I said, "Yeah, I can drive." So, you had to go on the highway to go across the river. So they were surveying at the time for the job. And these were the engineers, they said, "Okay, take this stake over there and go across. I'm going to set it up, and I'll motion to you one way or another." That was the day before they had all this sophisticated equipment they have now. So that's where I learned driving.
On the job.
Yeah. So, like I said, most of the time I spend it and like that. Nothing really interesting.
So today, tell me how do you feel about your military service?
Well, thank God that I got out okay, but I never was one to like to talk about my. In fact, like I said, I had to go to my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I do my thinking, but when I wake up early in the morning, I have to start thinking. Since you told me that you were going to ask me some questions, I said, "Well, I remember I told my girls, I can't remember anything. What am I going to say?" And so anyway, so you're going to start. You could remember. I said, "Yeah, I guess once I start asking these questions, I'll think, But that maybe not okay."
Yeah.
But I can't say I was unhappy when I was in the service. Like I said, because I was by myself most of the time, with my dad, and as a young man, and then when I would work at the horse, wasn't around much too many friends, so I with the service and had friends.
You made good friends.
Even after the.
Yeah, even after.
After the. In fact, the business a couple of years ago, I lived in Mammoth for like 50 years. I was in Mammoth one day, and my brother called me, and he said, "There's a guy here. He said he was in the service with you, and he'd like to visit with you." And I said, "What's his name?" And he told me his name. And he said, I said, "Well, tell him where I live. He wants to come over here." I remember when he told me the name. I remember. I said, "Tell him, ask him if he wants to." Well, he's going to check in the morning. He said, "They're staying at the hotel in the morning. They're going to check." I said, "Well, ask him if he wants to come to Mammoth." And he's welcome. said, we got an extra room, he wants to stay. Anyway, tell him, give me a call. And so anyway, nobody called, so then I called my boss, said, the guy will ever come back? No, he said, but his wife wants to talk to you. She's right here talking to him. So I talked to her, I didn't know her. And she said, Albert was his name, Albert. Albert, he says, he was visiting all of his buddies that he had, it was about 15, he said. He was visiting, started in Kentucky. Well, he was from Missouri. He was from Missouri, living in a service with us. And he said, she says to us, he visited everybody. He only needed to visit you and me in Arizona, and then he went to California, and there was 2 guys he had to visit. And that's his wife said, and he died.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Really?
He died there in Benson.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. That's an unusual story.
Yeah.
Marissa, anything else you have?
When did you meet Nana?
Hmm?
When did you meet Nana?
Well, we were both, but at the same time, we were two different. But when I was a little boy, we lived next door to her in Benson, and like I said, my dad worked out in the country most of the time, and I was staying with his aunt, and then right next door, the Bernals, the family Bernals lived, and there was two boys, and two boys, pretty girls, I forgot. And so we got to be friends. We used to play together, try to ride bicycles, play together. She was real clumsy, never could learn. And then, like I said, we went in the service, and I went in the service, and when I came back, we corresponded, we wrote back and forth. But we weren't serious. We weren't thinking of marriage or anything. In fact, I had planned to marry somebody else when it came home, or when I moved to Branson. And then we started going together. And then that's why I got a job at the mine so that I can make money to get married. And so anyway, a couple of things happened while I was preparing. We got together. I said, Trini, I said, is there anything that we're going to need it or get married? We'll make it arrangement to get married. And said, we had talked to somebody there who could rent a place to live, And and he said, well, you probably need a Venetian blind. He said, one of the windows doesn't have a Venetian blind. And so she says to me, Joe Kiwis was the name we were going to rent from. He said, Joe, and his wife said that we're going to need to tell you that you should buy a alarm clock because, to get up to go to work early. And you need an alarm clock, and she said the building needs a Venetian blind. So, okay, I said, well, I'm going to Tucson. I didn't have a car. I went in the bus. So I went in the bus to Tucson, and I stayed there with a cousin of mine. And the next day, we used to drink a little bit, and so we had a few drinks before I got on the bus, and I had my Venetian blind, and I came to pick up my suit. That's why I came, but wedding suit. I came to Tucson to pick it up. So, and her wedding was maybe a month or so away, but I was ready, because I worked at the mines, so I used to do things when I had a day off. So I had the Venetian blind, and then the guy at the store wrapped up. I told him, I said, we need to get to that. I write the bus. We picked it up. And I got on the bus, go to Benson. And the guy failed to wake me up when I got to Benson. Like I said, I had a few drinks, you know. So he woke. So then in Lordsburg, New Mexico, he woke me up and he said, "Hey," he said, "we're gonna clean the bus." And I said, I looked at the window, didn't recognize it. I said, "I'm going to Benson. Where am I?" "Oh my God!" He said, "Well, you're in Lordsburg, New Mexico." "Okay, no problem." He says, "There's a bus in the morning. There's a bus to. We'll get you a ticket. It won't cost anything." "No," I said, "but there's another thing. I work tomorrow. I gotta get on the. I gotta get. Is there a bus today?" No, it's not. So the highway is real close. I said, "Well, what? How am I gonna get home?" I said. He said, "Well, do this and get on the highway and do it." So I did. I did in about less than an hour. Cadillac, a convertible stopped. And there was 3 guys in the car, and he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Benson." "Can you drive?" "Yeah." "Okay, he said, we got 2 cars, and these guys are tired, you know, they got tired of driving, so we'll pick you up, and you can take this car, and we'll go on the other one. We'll take the other car, come in behind you." And so you go on, and he says, "We'll meet you right outside Benson, and you'll be on the lookout for this car." He said, "Okay." I said, "I got for the Cadillac." When we got to the Bowie station, you know how the trucks are going to be inspected. They come under the canopy. But if you're going through, you're supposed to go through. You're not supposed to stop. So I didn't know that. So I went under the canopy. And I stopped there, and the guy said, "What you got?" "I got nothing." I said, "I thought I was supposed to stop." He said, "They seen a Mexican in a Cadillac." They wonder what this guy so. So they made some calls, and he said, "You wait here. You wait here a little bit." They had gotten word that this guy had stolen cars. So pretty soon, one of the local cops from Bowie came over, and he said to me, "You go ahead and drive just like you were told to do that, and we'll be waiting. No, we'll be waiting in Benson too." So I said, "Okay," but I didn't know what was going on. So I drove on, got to Benson, and I waited there to pass the underpass, and I see some cops both sides of the highway. Pretty soon these guys came through and they caught, you know. So I helped capture some.
That's quite a tale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how long was that after the war? That's a pretty.
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I had already worked in the mine for a year.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you have, Marissa? So usually we ask one final question, which is like, what advice do you have for Marissa's generation?
Oh my God. I don't know. I know she's going to be way up there. I don't know. You're a smart gal. So.
Yeah, you can be very proud of her.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. I'm going to turn it off here.